Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you already know, this is your US General 5-drawer tool cart with side tray and deep compartment. Today is Friday. As you can see, we just now making it over to the storage unit. Okay. In today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit differently today. I actually did want to do something special with today's video, but unfortunately, earlier this morning, postal service, they arrived and showed up more earlier than I expected them to, and unfortunately they didn't have a secure place to leave one of my packages. So basically I will not be receiving it until tomorrow, and just as well as that package, I've also been waiting for another package, which just a little while ago I got a notification for stating that it was being rescheduled and delivered tomorrow. Okay, it's moving a little late. It's slowing me up from doing a couple of things. I do want to do a toolbox tour, and get that out. Like I state in some of the last couple of videos that I haven't put out a toolbox tour since my actual first video, which I did a toolbox tour on this particular 5-drawer US General tool cart and also a 4-drawer US General tool cart. All right. But in today's video, for the time being, I do want to touch on a little bit of specific topic. Okay, there's some things I'm going to get out, a couple of things, just want to talk about. Just, it's not really so much of a review. It's more enough, in my opinion, when it comes to working with certain equipment in a professional field. And, there's a lot of content out there on YouTube, and a lot of times I come across a lot of mixed reviews and things of that nature. And a lot of times when I come across some of these mixed reviews, sometimes it kind of makes me question the validity of some of the content makers, who put out the reviews, because it be a lot of different mixed messages and things like that, and misdirected information out there. So in today's video, I'm going to get out a couple of items, and this is mainly more not just of a personal opinion of my own. I will be expressing what I'm going to state and show in this particular video from real live experiences with basically working with tools, not just showing tools, all right, in videos as a review and things like that, but actually using tools in a professional settings, 6 days a week, 365 days a year. Okay, and some of the information, a lot of technicians and a lot of mechanics out there, they're gonna know where I'm getting at with this. All right, but as I always state, as usual, I always keep my signature lingering somewhere in the background. My Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You already know. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to get out a couple of items. You know what I'm saying? We're going to dive right into it, discuss a couple of things. All right. So walk with me. Let's get it. Okay. Now, as I have a couple of items out, right? What I'm going to do today is just talk about this. This is not technically, a review on the Milwaukee tools or cordless impacts, just so to say within themselves, okay? Just because, I have them out in the open. But this is the topic that I basically want to talk about, okay? What I basically see, in some mixed reviews and things like that, you know, Milwaukee Fuel, they just released the right angle impact wrench, okay? I do actually have that wrench. I'm actually waiting for it. It was supposed to be delivered to me today, but unfortunately I won't be receiving it until tomorrow. Okay. As you can see on YouTube, a lot of people, because it's a new tool, all right, and not everybody has them, that there is a few videos out there on these particular tools. Okay. What I want to point out in this particular video right here is that, when I see mixed reviews on certain particular tools, whether it's cordless tools or pneumatic impact tools, sometimes I question the validity, of the content that is put out there by some individuals. At sometimes this is not a video throwing shots at anybody or, you know, another channel or nothing like that. It technically don't have anything to do with any of that. In this video, like I said, I'm basically going to speak off of my own personal experiences with working with some of these tools in a live professional setting. Okay. So what I happen to come across is, you know, just as well as this new right angle wrench just came out, you know, there's a couple of videos out there where, you know, you see unboxings and things like that, and then you have a few individuals who have done a couple of live demonstrations as far as removing lug nuts and things like that. I even came across the video where a gentleman went to put the right angle in a vise with, you know, um, removing and bolting down tool fasteners in a vise. Okay. um I happened to come across another piece of content, or whether it was just a post or something like that, where it was showing the individual doing a live demonstration, okay, on a suspension part. And technically they was going off to state, you know, how the impact wrench was struggling in a location that they were technically in. All right. In my experience with using these impacts, you know what I'm saying, in a professional settings, what I come to learn and what I come to realize is that when you come across certain particular fasteners that's been sitting for a long time, rusted, seized, okay, a lot of times individuals, you know, they just simply go to either pneumatic or cordless and they run directly to the fastener and try to remove the fastener. And then sometimes what happens is that whatever tool that they're using is basically struggling to remove something. What I come to learn with some of this equipment is that at times when I found situations like that, it wasn't that the tool that was being used couldn't remove it. What I started to learn with some of these tools is that it's a process, sometimes that you have to assess and sometimes that you have to take first. It's just like, you know, in the automotive field, how you would walk to a car and do a 6-point inspection and get a visual on things. Okay. So what I learned about these is that sometimes when the tool is struggling to remove something is because you're using the cordless impact to immediately break something free. What I've learned in a lot of applications is that sometimes it required to drive the fastener first, then back out the fastener in order to break the bond behind the fastener being seized of the bolt itself and what it's contacted against the flush flat surface that whatever fastener is basically screwed into, whether it's a subframe component, whether it's a suspension component, a normal standard part component. All right. In my field of work, throughout time in the shop that I was working in, okay, we always had air accessible to us. So as you always see, I do have a lot of Milwaukee cordless, all right, not just sitting at the top of the tool cart. I have a long list of line of Milwaukee cordless that is not actually demonstrated in this video because the video is not really based on the tools. It's just talking about the experience of working with some of them, okay, and some of the mixed reviews and mixed information that I'll be seeing out there at times, because in some of these same situations that they claim that the tool tend to fail or struggle on them, I haven't run into those issues. Okay. um to give you a good example, in my field of work, technicians that I worked side by side with, all right, when it came to pneumatic impacts, a good majority of the technicians that I worked around basically either have Mac, okay, pneumatic impacts, Ingersoll Rand, and quite a few snap-ons. All right. When it came to cordless in the shop that I worked at, nobody technically worked with cordless. Okay. When it came to 1/4 inch drive and 3/8 drive, most of the technicians who worked around me used those drive sizes in pneumatic air tools. Technically, I was the only technician in the shop who was introducing and bringing this whole list of line of cordless into the shop. When I first started to do that, there were technicians who've been in the field for quite a long time. They technically don't believe in the cordless. They didn't believe that, the cordless is just as strong, okay, as some of the pneumatics, which, like I state, cordless is not my first option. Pneumatic is my actual first option. But the particular cordless that I have, they serve very specific reasons when called upon, just like, so to say, my ratchet drawer and the selection of ratchets that I have. Okay, I'm not a tool collector. Like when I put out these videos or I show the cart or whatever, this is not a demonstration, of DIY use or, at work working with tools every now and then and so on and so forth. I don't knock any of those videos. Everybody does what they do in their occupations out there. All right. Um, when it comes to the half-inch drive, high torque, I'll talk about a situation when I worked in the shop. Now, this was around the time that I first purchased this tool and I introduced it to the shop, and everybody was gigging on the cordless tools and why you like the Milwaukee tools. There was a couple of technicians who did have a DeWalt here and there in a 3/8, to remove access panels from underneath the vehicle and things like that of that nature. Those were the cordless that they had during the time. So there was a situation in the shop where a truck had came in, okay, and the lug nuts was seized. Now, one of the technicians who worked side by side with me, he's very, very tall, okay, and roughly, he weighs roughly about maybe about between 275, 290, okay. There was a situation in the shop where he was trying to remove lug nuts with his pneumatic impact, which is an Ingersoll Ram. He couldn't remove the lug nuts. So then the shop itself has its own personal equipment for shop use, which they held Stillman Pro pneumatic impacts. So he went to the Stillman Pro pneumatic impacts, still couldn't remove the lug nut. He went and asked the next following technician, could he use his half-inch drive, which was a Mac. The Mac couldn't remove the seized lug nut. So what he did was he went to a 36-inch breaker bar, okay? And he put the breaker bar on the lug nut and went to step on the breaker bar, okay? The lug nut still was not moving. So now his next option was to get a cheater bar and put it on a breaker bar. The gentleman, he still could not remove the lug nut. So what basically happened was is he started screaming in the shop, started throwing tools and things like that, stating that he give up, he tap out, he didn't want to work anymore. He was ready to go to the service writer and tell the service writer, we can't do the job and so on and so forth. So the whole time that all of this is going on, I'm actually just sitting around because I actually wasn't doing the job at that particular time. But I had my tools in my tool cart. So I went to ask him, I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, yo, I got this over here and I can't remove it. So I was like, yo, I got my Milwaukee hard torque. I was like, yo, why don't you let me give you a try, give you a hand. Now, during that time, I never used the tool just yet. So I was thirsty and kind of anxious, you know what I'm saying, to backen the tool out. So when I stated it to him, he turned around and was like, nah, it's not going to do it because everything that I just did, it's not removing it. That cordless stuff is not going to remove it. So I said, well, listen, let me just give it a try. So I pulled out the half-inch. All the technicians in the shop, they were all standing around that day. Just unfortunately, it never dawned on me, to ask somebody to record. I just randomly and simultaneously went to my tool cart and pulled out the tool, okay, and slapped the Tecton impact socket on it. Freshly brand new, unused. Soon as I put this hard torque on the lug nut, it spent them out. like butter. So now the technician, he was standing there and everybody was so shocked and so alarmed, to the point now he wanted to apologize to me because he kept saying, I see you bringing all of this cordless equipment into the shop, and I didn't think that this cordless equipment can over succeed with some of the pneumatic air tools. Do I'm like, listen, I do my research, you understand? Like, this is for what reason why I have very specific key tools. Okay, as you can see, a lot of times, okay, when I go to the top of the cart, okay, I do have the 1/4 inch hex, just as well as I also have a 1/4 inch um stubby with an anvil. There's a reason for that. Now, even though the hex is more universal because I can interchange with 1/4 inch to 3/8 drive to 1/2 inch drive, with the 1/4 inch stubby that actually has an anvil and a friction ring is not as versatile as this particular gun. So that's used a little bit less than this one, okay? But then there is a difference, okay? Especially when you start to use a hex driver that requires basically an extension to a socket. So it takes away, and it's less hammering and less force, and it's more of a risk that the hex extension could snap. See, you won't have that situation with a regular normal socket on an anvil, okay? The situation is different. So now the anvil, while it's hammering, okay, there's nothing in between that's absorbing the impacts. So it's the same thing when it comes to the 1/2 inch drive. All right. I see individuals who get out and they put extensions on some of the anvils, okay, where it takes away. And my personal preference, when I'm doing work, we have all sorts of different ranges of sockets, okay, from shallow to mid-length to deep. Then you even have, in some instances, extra deep and extra long sockets. A lot of times I like extra long sockets because now when I'm using an extra long socket, it enables me to not have to go to roughly, so to say, a 3-inch extension. Okay, because with using those extensions, now it's basically taking away from the torque and the actual tool hammering mechanism. Okay, in order to remove something. Now, when it comes to the 1/2 inch drive Milwaukee hard torque, this is a tool that I don't use to drive. The only time that I actually use it to drive is when something is seized. Okay, anything that I have put this tool up against, I have not had not any issues removing anything. I see countless of videos out there by, well, professional individuals who dislike the tool, or they feel that the tool is not putting out enough power. So it's just, so to say, just like how I just recently seen how it was stated how the right angle impact wrench was not putting out enough power. This is what now have me questioning the validity of the information that's put out there, because now the next following thing I want to know is, what type of batteries are you using with this right angle? Now, for the individuals who have it, who didn't purchase it in a bare tool, but they actually purchased it in a kit, I believe they come with either 2.0 batteries or 1.5 batteries. In tools like that, I never use 1.5 and 2.0s. When it comes to the 3/8 stubby, I actually have a 6.0. Okay, when it comes to heavy applications, if I'm not using a 4.0, it's always a 6.0. I'm never using anything up underneath a 4.0. So it's the same thing with a 1/2 inch drive. Okay, it's my only expectancy to be able to push so much with a tool that's like this. And say, for instance, you have a 2.0 battery, there's not enough power in the battery to push the tool. So now when you go to a real worldly situation, and then you go to record it, okay, because this is information that's being put out to the general public, the masses, the tool community, and so on and so forth, okay, especially to individuals who don't work with tools all the time, or who actually do not have a mechanical background. They're not going to know what to distinguish. They're going to assume off the rip, okay, that, oh no, the tool is trash, and I shouldn't get this, and maybe I should go in this direction. Now, this is not promoting the brand, or to say, that the Milwaukee tool, is just the way to go. Here, but go buy Milwaukee. You understand? Because I'm not the one to necessarily state that. There's other brands out there that I actually do prefer and I actually do like. There's some DeWalt's that I like. There's some other brands. There's some Max. There's some Ingersoll brands. There's some Chicago Pneumatics. Okay. Fortunately, you always see Milwaukee tools because I actually have that lineup when it comes to the battery system. The battery and power system of the M12 and M18 line, okay, being interchangeable to have so many different lines of tools, and you don't have to constantly either keep changing different size batteries or charges. Okay, you have multiple um, high rapid charges for basically the same tools. So this is why I decided to go in this particular route. This cart technically wouldn't even be this color if it wasn't for the Milwaukee tools that's actually presented. Okay. Just as well as, yes, I do have snap-on, and a lot of the snap-on has red and black comfort grips, but that mainly more has something to do with the Milwaukee tools that's in place. Same thing with some of the Mako equipment. Okay. So, even with the 3/8 stubby, there's been instances in a lot of different particular videos, where they may show, the 3/8 stubby struggling in certain situations. Okay. What I take notice to is that if I see the 3/8 stubby struggling, maybe because it's struggling in a 1/2 inch drive application, something that technically it's not designed for, even though the tool is basically a real strong tool. See, people get the wrong impression because the very first thing that they start to do is they basically start to remove lug nuts, cease lug nuts, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's, mainly more what that is. Okay. Another thing, what I want to point out is that I also see, individual, they will see something that has been sitting for quite a while. Okay. Seized, rusted up. Okay. A lot of times I never see this being applied. Okay. Just as well as some other solutions, WD-40, and so on and so forth, before trying to remove particular fastener. Okay. Just like, so to say, how there's been plenty of videos where you see individuals talking about using a 3/8 stubby and it's stalling on them or failing in certain particular applications, that technically, yes, the tool puts out a lot of force, okay, on removal and impacting. All right. I'm not going to get into the scientific principles and specs and range of things, okay, because there is other videos out there that do things in a like, okay, there's a lot of good channels out there that put out um quality excellent reviews when it comes to spec ranges and things like that, and talk specifications. Okay. But I have noticed, in a lot of videos where individuals, they tend to talk about the tool, but I see the tool being used in a 1/2 inch application that requires basically a higher drive size. Or you have those individuals out there who have experience, okay, who actually do have a mechanical background, but though you will see them still using particular tools like this with chrome sockets. Okay. My thing is this: keywords. impact wrench, impact wrench, impact sockets. Okay, there's a difference. Just as well as you see a regular, normal, standard hand ratchet. Okay, more than likely, right, when you go to reach for your normal standard hand ratchet, more than likely you're going to use a chrome socket. You're not going to use an impact socket, only unless that's the only thing available to you, depending upon whatever size and dimension application that you may need at that particular time when called upon. Okay, or the availability of what you may have in your tool selection. Okay, so that's another thing at times that I don't understand, because then individuals will turn around and say, well, maybe, oh, it's because I used a chrome socket. Maybe that's why I failed, or maybe because I used the extension. No, there's a difference. There's a difference. Individuals who actually use these tools in professional field, professional settings, they know the truth. They know what it really is. I don't know, whether some out there do it for either trying to get free tools or whatever. Like, I do no shilling or nothing like that over here. Any tool that has ever been demonstrated by me in any of my videos, okay? Any equipment that I've ever shown or displayed, all this equipment belonged to me. Like, there's no bills on nothing, okay? Nobody gives me absolutely anything. I work just as hard to get mine, just as well as everybody else. Okay, so like I said, this is not, uh me going at any channel or anybody in specific. This is just to clear up some information when it comes to questioning the validity of, some of the reviews that are put out there, because I can't technically tell, like, do you really use tools? Okay, or are you putting out the content to just, I don't know, as a display? All right, there's a difference. I have plenty of videos in shop before any of these other videos has ever been put out. There's a lot of videos that has never been viewed before. I only really technically have but so many subscribers. Every now and then, when I do throw up a particular video that the chest is at a storage unit now, at particular times, depending upon what I'm talking about, okay, in the topic, I may go back to pre-recorded video that I have done in the past in a live shop with some of these tools. So it's to be able to show, no, this is not an individual who's just showing some tools, who basically has a toolbox at a storage unit, and is just, talking about some tools and displaying some tools to you. No, that's not the case over here. Okay, so it just goes to show, just like someone questioned me last night and asked me, what is my most favorite ratchet? Okay, just as well, okay, down here you can see many different options at my disposal of ratchets. Okay, but technically my main go-to is my non-locking snap-on flex head bent handle, which most people know it to be used as a spark plug removal ratchet. I don't just use this particular ratchet only for the use of removing spark plugs. I use this ratchet in many different applications due to its inclined design in the handle, okay? And not just for the option of its flex head. I wish they made this in a locking bent handle flex head design, because I use this in very specific applications, and it allows me to maneuver around a lot of different obstacles, because I actually have small hands. I don't have big hands. Just as well, in some last previous videos that roughly I may have put out in the last couple of weeks, As you can see down here, I picked up this 3/8 drive offset. This is another particular ratchet that I wish that they would redesign into a longer extended version in an offset 3/8, either locking or non-locking, okay, for this particular angle when needed, and to go a little bit more further when it's actually flexed, okay, where I can get up underneath, all right. It may not give me the arc swing that I need, like, so to say, me using a 100 tooth roto head, right? But it'll get me in the area that I need to get in and be able to get the fastener up and outwards. Sometimes I don't have the room from side to side with the arc swing, or the upper room to remove something without something being above blocking me from being able to get the ratchet out with the socket, where that now I have to try my best to get the ratchet off the socket while it's locked down on a fastener and remove the rest by hand. Okay, this is where this particular ratchet really comes in handy. This is why I was very anxious to get my hands on this. So like I always say, when you do see me display certain tools, every tool serves its own purpose when called upon. There's some tools that get used all the time. There's some tools that do not get used all the time. I have a lot of different ratchets, and some will say, well, do I even use my tools? Yes, I do use all of my tools. Okay. I have different ratchets in different sizes with different features and different lengths depending upon the job at hand, what type of leverage I may need at a time, what type of force and torque I may need to put on something, where to the point that I have things at my disposal where now it won't require for me to say, well, here, let me go get a cheater bar, okay, and take the risk of trying to remove something and break the actual tool. I don't necessarily have to do that. That's just for what reason why I have certain particular size measurement breaker bars, okay, in all ranges for its lengths and how much torque in applications that I would basically need to apply. Where to the point now, a cheater bar is not even an option. I don't need a cheater bar, okay? Anything technically in those applications, mainly more if I can get to it out in the open, I would technically use a 1/2 inch drive, and not always, so to say, in the cordless, just as well as I'm heavy on Ingersoll Rand also. You just don't see the Ingersolls in this particular video. But if you follow my videos, you would know, yes, I have the Ingersolls also. 3/8 drives, 1/2 inch drive. I just lack it in the 1/4 inch drive. Okay. Where I lack in the 1/4 inch drive is where the cordless picks up. This is why I always state that my 1/4 inch hex is a #1 main go-to tool that is used consistently and constantly, due to the fact that it can be used for many different applications, whether drilling bits, sockets, okay, and so on and so forth. I have all sorts of different type of extensions for it, right angle extensions, okay, to get in enclosed tight areas. So, that's just basically what that is. I know this video is getting a little long. Most people are not going to watch it, but it is what it is. Just a little informative information. Okay, so pretty much I'm about to wrap this video up. I apologize. I didn't mean for the video, to run out this long with me basically explaining what I was just basically stating. I just wanted to put this video out there for some of the viewers out there because, in my opinion, when taking a look at a lot of different content, you know, across the channels and things like that. In my personal opinion, I suggest that, if you're interested in looking at a certain particular tool or buying a certain particular tool, do your research. Sometimes it's best, if you get certain particular items in your own hands, okay, so that you can get your own personal feeling for the tool and idea of, what it can do for you and what it cannot do for you and things like that, because there be a lot of different mixed reviews out there, on a lot of good tools, and then you got a lot of non-truck tool brands that are out there who are actually putting out some good equipment. It's not always about the tool truck brands or anything like that. Like I always state, you see the logos and things like that on the card, and yes, I do have a lot of tool truck brand tools, but this ain't about no Mako tools or Milwaukee Fuel or Snap-on or Mac and Cornwell or any other tool brand, Gear Wrench, Sunex, Tecton, like Gray Pneumatic. I have tools of all those brands, but it's never technically about one brand. I'm not biased to just using one brand of tool. Okay, I do use tools professionally, so I like high quality type tools that's gonna last me. I'm not into investing a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of cheap tools that I gotta keep replacing. Okay, don't have time to be doing the runaround. I only have time to, get to it. So that's basically what it's gonna be on the day. Everybody enjoy the rest of your evening out there. Hope everybody have a safe and a blessed one as always. As I'm still waiting for these last few items so I can give you this tool review, tool haul, tool storage tour and things like that. Stay tuned to the videos and keep it a safe one. Gonna check you later. Peace.